Yesterday could have been the greatest day ever. It was a day full of meeting new business relationships. It started out with breakfast. I had been talking back and forth with the owner of one of the largest companies in my industry for quite some time. And finally, I got to be able to sit down across the table from him at breakfast. And I got to ask all these different questions. We were talking back and forth, sharing stories, sharing experience. It was just wonderful. It was crazy. Followed up with a lunch. We got empanadas and ate out by the truck. And I was talking with a new supplier, building up that relationship. I actually brought a pack of Corona because I knew that they would find that was his favorite beer, the guy I was meeting up with. So that was kind of cool. I'm 21, so I had one. We were there for like an hour or two, just chilling, talking about different things. And then yesterday night, I met up with a new manufacturer or contractor of sorts. And it was on his friend's property that he was running this small business that he was doing. And we had an arrangement where he would get some of the materials, and in return, he would do the processing for me without charging me, which is nice for me because if I lower my cost on the materials side because I'm buying a larger quantity, then that allows me to use some of that as like bartering material, because maybe he couldn't get as good of a rate if he just does more of the producing side, right? And he doesn't want to have a ton of inventory on hand. So it's a good relationship for the both of us. We figured something out. I brought him some beer as well, because I knew that I asked him, I was like, hey, are you a beer guy? He's like, yeah, I like Blue Moon. So I brought some of that. And we were talking for like 2 hours. I got to share my story, everything that I'm doing right now. He got to share his story and, what he's going through and like how he got to the point where he is. It was just incredible. And then that night, because I stayed a little bit after he had left, I got to meet the friend who owned the property, and they are also a potential supplier in the future. So it's just, yesterday was an incredible day of meeting new business contacts. And here's what I learned, right? Business relationships are made of tons of small interactions, right? And just relationships in general. So it's the small things that matter. Because if you have a ton of really nice, fun, exciting, small interactions with these people that you're trying to establish business relationships with, then your business relationship or your friendship with a friend or your relationship with a significant other is an exciting relationship. If you have a ton of fun moments, it's a fun relationship. So what I learned is, at lunch or at breakfast, when I sat down across from the owner of one of the largest companies in my industry, I was blown away that he was just freely sharing all this information. So when the check came, without a question, I had already pulled out my card. I gave it to her and paid for our breakfast. And he was looking at me. He's like, "You're 21 years old. Like, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that." That's an invaluable experience. All the information was entirely worth me paying his breakfast and him having that memory of like, wow, this kid actually has an idea what he's doing. At lunch, the fact that I brought Corona unannounced, and I didn't bring the empanadas. They already had them. Not thinking that I was going to eat lunch with them, but because I brought Corona, they were sharing the empanadas with me. And he's like, "Yeah, you have one." It was delicious. And later that night when I went over and I was talking, we were figuring out this, business relationship for the manufacturing side of things. The fact that I brought the Blue Moon is something that he told me that I remembered. And, he found that interesting that he's like, no one's ever really done that. So it's all these small little interactions that kind of in sum total added up to a great day of just building relationships. Invaluable experience. I think this is something that will carry well with me for a long time. And it reinforces the belief that relationships are everything. It's not what you know sometimes, it's who you know, that whole phrase. It's a little bit used in the wrong context, because most people think it's a transactional thing, like, hey, I'll do this for you and you'll do this for me. But that's not a good business relationship. It's just, hey, who are you? I want to know about you. I want to be friends of sort, but in a business context. And I want to be able to work together where you are excited to work with me. So you're actually getting more value than you would have if you worked with someone else, right? Because most people just are greedy. They don't care. Alex Hormozy is someone I listen to a bunch, and one of the things he says is people are focused on getting a small slice of the, or like a large slice of the pie, when they should instead be focused on making a bigger pie, right? Because you can have a small slice of a huge pie and be taking in more every year than someone who's got 100% to themselves, but it's not that big, you know? You need other people to help you, and you need to help other people in order for both of you to benefit the most. I guess that's the best way to say that without being too complex with the wording. It's a story that I definitely will tell more in depth with like actual details, probably like on my woodworking account. But yeah, that's my industry. That's what I do. I build tables. But yeah, yesterday will go down the books as one of the greatest days ever. And the challenge for today and tomorrow and every day after is to top it, to do even better. So that's on the calendar.